night to punishment for 3 men involved in one of the biggest fraud cases in the Midwest.
Today, the judge says the verdict of Timothy Durham should be considered a life sentence. Call 6 investigator Rafael Sanchez has followed this case from the very beginning, and he joins us live now. Rafael.
Todd, good evening. Timothy Durham's family tells me that they plan on challenging today's decision. But until then, Durham will spend time in prison until he's at least 93 years old. Now at 6, the victim's vindication and the multiple verdicts. Timothy Durham expressed remorse, but it wasn't enough to keep him out of prison for life. He was sentenced to 50 years on fraud charges. We spoke to his son Timothy Jr. after the sentencing. Tim, anything you'd like to say, sir, on behalf of your dad?
It's everything that happened with the investors is terrible. We feel very bad for all of them, but we still maintain his innocence. We intend to appeal, and we're very excited to get to Chicago, where we feel like we'll have more of a fair chance.
In the courtroom, a former nun turned to the 3 men convicted of ripping off 5,100 people out of $200 million and said she'd forgiven them, and then added, "You felt you were above the law, shame on you."
I think justice was served, yes.
Another person demanding justice was Janie Kalina, whose father lost his retirement money and can't afford to care for his sick wife.
My dad has cried. He stayed up at night worrying. He just felt he's a failure, and basically he felt he was a fool, that, that he kept his money in there and he told us to invest. So this is for you, Dad.
Durham's family says they plan to seek an appeal.
We're going to bring him to justice in Chicago.
Are you going to appeal, ma'am? Is that the plan, to appeal this case?
As far as I know.
What are the chances of this being overturned?
In all honesty, Mr. Durham would have a better chance of winning the $500 million lottery than he will be succeeding on an appeal. The 7th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Chicago rarely overturns a criminal conviction of this type.
But it appears that this case will continue, and now at some point we'll be headed to the Federal Court of Appeals in Chicago. Todd?
So, Rafael, will the victims have any chance of restitution in this case?
Boy, Todd, when we talk about the victims, these folks are not high rollers or folks that lived or worked on Wall Street. These are just regular grandmas and grandpas, moms and dads who had put all their savings for their future. Unlikely to see much of anything, maybe pennies on the dollar. The bankruptcy trustee has been able to recover $6 million, but that money more than likely will first go to the big-time creditors before it really trickles down to the real people. So unlikely to see any big amounts of money being returned to folks who lost more than $200 million in this financial scheme.
Wow.
We're live outside the federal courthouse. Rafael Sanchez, RTV6.